All
How's it
right.
going? How's it going, YouTube? My name is Roshan. I am back. I am a strong advocate on reforming the unjust system, especially when it impact communities more negatively than it help or enhance in a positive manner. And I am here with Brother Rod. He's actually on the registry. Um, and we want to go ahead and talk about it because the best way to change the system is to talk about ways you can improve the system with raw data. And, like systems, they are in place for a reason. The reason systems are put in place is to ensure safety. And with the sex offender registration, I believe it do more harm than it protects. So, Brother Rod, um, how did you
Yeah.
get on the sex offender registry?
Okay, so basically the short story is going back to the late '90s. I used to use a chat line. It was actually called a party line. It was a phone system, and me and my friends would utilize it all the time. So we would be on there meeting different girls throughout different parts of New York, and it was pretty much just a hookup line. So this is what led me to the registry because on this line, I ended up meeting a young woman, and we ended up having intercourse. And lo and behold, she ended up getting pregnant. And I didn't know she at the time she was 16. I was 22. So that's how I originally landed on the registry.
So I never been on a chat line. I think I heard of a chat line before, but
Mhm.
I never been on one. I don't know how it worked,
Okay.
but I would assume it would be like a social media that you can't see because it's over the phone. But even
Absolutely,
with
absolutely.
this being like a social media type project that you can't see people, so you don't actually get to see physical features or what they look like, or if they look
Right.
older or younger. Wasn't there a age guideline to even get into this chat? Like,
Yeah, so absolutely. So uh this was pretty much this was social media before social media. But yeah, so when you go onto this what is called a party line, there's a prompt where you had this hit a button to say that you were 18 in order for you to even move forward with the system. So, that's how it was set up. So you're not thinking of age because you're just assuming that if you're using the system, everyone's 18. If you understand what I'm saying, and that's the way it was set up and designed. So
so, like, okay, so first of all,
mhm.
and not to point fingers or point the blame, but one, this chat line is for 18 years and up, and this girl was obviously not of age to be in this chat line. How did you get in trouble?
So how I got in trouble was after me and this girl hooked up. We only hooked up one time, and she ended up getting pregnant. So at the time, I didn't know. I actually ended up. This was in the spring. I ended up moving to Atlanta that summer, and I ended up getting a phone call from one of my friends and telling me that the police had showed up to his house, looking for me and to call this number. So once I called the number, they explained to me that this, female that I met was 16 years old, and I'm going to be charged basically with statutory rape. And I explained to them at the time I was not in New York, and they told me I needed to come back to New York. And so that's what I did. I came back and I faced the situation, and uh, that's how I found out.
So ultimately, the charge that you were charged with, what was it?
Statutory rape.
So, okay, so they charged you for statutory, even though this young lady was in a adult chat room with the intentions of meeting someone older than her to do what she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm,
So, okay, I guess that's something I just never understood, right?
mm-hmm,
Like, okay, yes, you have a kid and they may be a certain age or fall in between the age or under age and then date someone close to their age or in the age that they want to date because they want to date older, that
mm-hmm.
you punish the guy. Like,
Absolutely.
why continuously keep punishing the guy because somebody do something that is
Mhm.
your child that you
Mhm.
can't like control.
Mhm.
I don't get that, but it happens.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
did you say she was white?
Yes. So this was a white girl. So when I went to court, of course, I presented to my lawyer. Listen, I'm on this chat line. You have to be 18 on here. So on and so forth. Age never came up. Was never discussed. Pretty much just ignored everything as far as that's concerned. They told me that it didn't matter. That was what happened. But as far as dealing with this situation, yes, it was a white female, and actually ended up getting her pregnant. And I have a daughter right now that's going to be 22 years old in a few months from that situation. So, but lo and behold, and unfortunately, the girls, her aunt was very nice to me back then, and she told me that the only reason I was going to be pretty much charged is because I was black. It was a very small town full of white people, and that's just what happened.
And that
So
was gonna be my next question, because I'm sitting up here thinking, and to be honest, I hate to bring race in everything, but it is what it is. And like when it comes to race relations or when certain things take place, the law do have tendencies to work for us or
mhm,
minorities or foreigners or poor people in a
mhm,
way it don't work for everybody as a
mhm,
whole. And I
absolutely.
want to ask you if you thought race played a part in you even being sentenced in a
Mhm,
case where a girl obviously again was in a chat room
mhm,
where she was not supposed to be because she was underage. And not only was she in a chat room underage,
mhm,
as she was an adult looking for an adult,
mhm,
but she actually made an attempt to go and connect with you
mhm,
personally to do what
mhm,
she wanted to do and got pregnant.
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
the blame falls on you.
Mhm, absolutely.
So
So
go ahead.
I absolutely feel that race plays a crucial part in this. And again, I don't like to play the race card at all because from another relationship that I had for 10 years, which was with the white woman who I have 3 kids with, and also have various different races in my family as well. So I don't really, look to play the race card, but unfortunately, it's the system that we live in. 9 times out of 10, it's always designed to make us look like the criminals. We're always made the face of if there's a war, if there's a war on something in America, we are the face of it, whether it be the war on crime, the war on poverty, the war on drugs, and the war on sex. you
Gun
know, we're always
violence.
we're always to the forefront, and unfortunately that's just the way the system is designed. It's designed against us. Hate to say it, but that's what it is.
So did you find out she was 16 before or after you got her pregnant?
So basically, I didn't find out that she was 16 until maybe a year later, because again, when we met, we never discussed age. She never asked me how I was. I didn't ask her how old she was. Now, back in this era, in the 90s, so to speak, that just wasn't really a thing anyway. As far as it's more of a thing now with age stuff. So it wasn't more of a thing then. So I didn't, and I also didn't speak to her either. You understand what I'm saying? Because it was just kind of like a hookup, and you just move on. So I didn't find out until pretty much I was in handcuffs. That she was 16 years old.
And so did you, when you got sentenced, did you actually go to jail or prison behind this?
No, so what happened was, so when I got sentenced, my lawyer told me was, and we can avoid, any jail time as long as I plead guilty, and I'm willing to go on the registry. So he was like, I can get you 5 years probation. You just got to go on the registry. At the time, I'm thinking, cool. I don't got to go to jail. Just tell me what I got to do. Where do I sign? So going back to my frame of mind back then, this is something brand new. No one knows what this registry is. I don't even know what it is. I have no idea how it's going to impact my life in the future. I'm just looking to, you know, save my behind, so to speak, if you understand what I'm saying.
Avoid
And
maximum punishment.
right,
But
exactly.
I'm with you.
Right, exactly. So, That's what I did. I pled guilty to 5 years probation and 10 years on the registry was my sentence. And I actually got probation in 3 years, which is crazy to me because it's do the crime, do the time, right?
Right.
Why would I still be paying for some supposedly crime, 23, 24 years later,
So are you still on the registry now?
Yes. So I'm still on the registry as of right now.
So, but you said you had 10 years to registry. How
Correct.
long has it been?
It's been 23 years.
So you signed for a 10-year registration.
In court for 10 years on the registry, yes.
And it's 23 years now, and you still on the registry.
23 years later, I'm still on the registry.
Do you think you'll ever get off?
Well, honestly, I don't know because supposedly, what my attorney told me is after 30 years, what you can do is you can, in New York State, you can apply every year to get off. I think it's after 10 years or something like that. I mean, you can have a hearing once a year to try and get off the registry, but
that costs money too, right?
Oh yeah. It's not free. You're gonna pay your lawyer every single time. So after 30 years, supposedly in New York, I can apply and they can actually let me off if they want to. But here's the kicker. The district attorney, he has the power to sign a petition to get people off the registry. But also, if I'm applying to get off the registry, he can deny me. So that doesn't make sense to me because that's a double-edged sword. How can you have the power to take people off the registry, but also keep people on the registry, if you understand what I'm saying? So to me, that makes no sense. That's been one of my arguments in court. I've fought this thing for a long time. I went to sex offender therapy counseling because they said that would help get me off faster. I've met with the mayor of my city, councilmen, lawyers, advocates, and pretty much it's just been pretty much a dead end for the most part.
Yeah, sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a double-edged sword of oppression, and that's one of my battles, trying to figure out, how to eliminate the double-edged sword of oppression to get a straight razor. Like
Absolutely. Unfortunately, as the saying goes, God forgives, right? So if God forgives, how come we live in a system where the system of white supremacy, how come they don't forgive us when we make mistakes? Why would they want to punish us so harshly? Especially, most of us being very young, and we're getting put on these registries, and then we're getting treated as the same as so-called pedophiles who touch little children and so on and so forth. We get the same treatment, and that's just not fair.
Right. But even with that, like, even when I think of, and when I think of taking responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
when I think of a mistake, we make those, right?
Absolutely.
None of us is perfect from mistakes, but a mistake or a mishap from something that we did don't always be the reason we end up having a relationship with the criminal justice system. Sometimes we just be in the right place at the wrong time, dealing with the wrong people, and our skin color or the amount of money we have in our pocket and not being able to afford to pay for our freedom is the reason why we even entangled into the system in the first place. So it's like, this is what I want to know. With you being on the registry for 23 years, when you signed for 10, with you actually fulfilling the 10 years and now 13 years overdue, how has the registry impacted your life? Or how, like, what kind of strain has this had on you and your family?
Absolutely. So going back to just being placed on the registry, for 10 years, I'll explain to you how in New York, I don't know about other states, how it got to be this long, because in 2006, there was a guy by the name of Dean Skelos. He was a congressman in New York. and he started pushing for legislation to expand the registry here in the state of New York, and I believe it trickled down to the rest of the country. But anyway, the 10 years pretty much turned into 30 years for me with a phone call. And what happened was I was just so, I'm 2 years from getting off this registry, getting my life back. And then at that time, I just got depressed, you know what I'm saying? And I said, I'm not going to register anymore. So I just said, forget it, I'm done with it. And of course, I got arrested because now you're failure to register. And then it's, well, we're going to give you a felony if you don't register. You understand what I'm saying? So now you're being threatened and coerced to get back on this registry. You understand what I'm saying? So, excuse me. But as far as affecting my life and how it's affecting me, first of all, it's very embarrassing. You have to live in a community, where people find out you're a registered sex offender, they think you want to harm them, to harm your kids. Second of all, you got to think about your family members, your mother, your father, your brothers and sisters. It's embarrassing for them. You understand what I'm saying? Especially, if you get caught up on the news, your face is on the news, so it affects you, it affects your family, and then it affects your mental. You can go into a state of depression. You can start feeling anxiety and not really wanting to deal with society. So I can tell you, for me, one of the things I did was, I turned to drugs, kind of like selling drugs, because I'm like, I don't want to get a job because they're going to go into my criminal past and bring this up. They're not going to hire me. So let me just avoid that route by selling drugs. Nope, got caught, went to jail. So it almost like breeds more criminal behavior and activity, because at one time, you want to avoid the embarrassment and you want to minimize having to deal with people, right? But now you're turning to something else to try and live a different life to avoid this. And there's no way to avoid it. So, I can kind of tell you what my story, as far as what I did, was, when I was younger and I got into this trouble, I was kind of living a little bit of street life, hustling and things of that nature. I just met a lot of people in the construction industry, just being in that lifestyle. So what I did was, I worked at restaurants for a while, because restaurants are kind of, you know what I'm saying, they're kind of iffy. Sometimes you can find a little mom and pop restaurant. Oh, come on, we'll hire you, that type of thing. But if you got to support a family, you got to make some real money. So what I did was, I kind of started to get with the construction guys and oversee like the projects they were doing. And then I kind of started my own construction company and went that route, because that minimized my exposure even dealing with people.
That's nice.
If you understand what I'm saying. So that was kind of my way of coping with it. Now, what I've noticed is that sometimes, for me studying the registry, is that I live in what's called a blue state, right? I live in New York. A lot of people that live in red states, such as once you get past the Mason-Dixon line, when you get down south, which is where all my family from, it's a lot. Sometimes it can be a lot tougher in those states to maneuver around, if you understand what I'm saying, because, for instance, in the state of New York, it's all about money, right? Let's just be honest. New York's all about money. So they some of them, like, I've lived in apartment buildings, I lived in complexes, I lived in houses, so on and so forth. I never really had a problem with housing. You understand what I'm saying? With background checks and such and stuff before, and those type of things. So if I had money, it was like, we good. You understand what I'm saying? So I might not have to deal with as much backlash as other people in other states, but I have noticed, because I had a friend that live in the South, they do background checks for, it's almost like a different type of system in these, in these red states. So it can make it a lot more harder than some of these other states for, brothers dealing with this madness. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Oh, sorry, not to cut you off. Just one other point. I also noticed too that sometimes they say you can't live within a certain school zone. You can't live by a park. You can't go to a park and take your kids to, water parks. And, so that's a whole nother thing you have to be aware of too. Your lifestyle is very, cautious. You have to be, where you're going, where you're living, where you're moving to. Again, what I've noticed where I live in the city, right? I live in the city limits. So when I lived out in the suburbs in the different areas, the police were, they do their checkups. They would do a lot more checkups when I lived in the suburbs, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, when I live in the city, the address I've been at right now, I've been in 3 years. They've only came out twice in 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So that plays a dynamic in it too. just throwing a couple, my experience out there. That's all. So.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
You actually answered almost all of my questions dealing with employment
Mhm.
parts,
Mhm. Mhm.
but do you think that the registry create safer environments, or do you think it create more harm?
Um, I'll be honest. I don't think it creates safer environments. And especially for people of color. And one reason why is because I watched a gentleman that was on one of your shows, and what he said was he lived in a county where they was passing out flyers with his face on it. So from the standpoint of when you're dealing with the psychological aspects of it, if you're in a somewhat white community or certain communities and there's flyers with your faces on it, these people are going to have their alarms up. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother form of terrorism. You understand what I'm saying? So
That
it's
can also
huh?
that can also create an environment to where everybody looking for you to do something, or
Mhm. Mhm.
is ready to scapegoat you because they know you can, and there's nothing you can do about it,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
they know who you are.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
So before
And
we
that. Go ahead.
oh
I'm sorry.
go
I
ahead.
know. I was going to say, as far as when you're dealing with these systems with the flyers, and we have to understand that even if it's a so-called Caucasian person on the flyer, if you're in the Caucasian community, they're not going to have the same response looking at this flyer that they're going to have as with a black face on that flyer. So that can create a lot of harm, with people wanting to hurt you, hurt your family, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to point that out too.
Hmm. So before we wrap up, um if there was anything you can change about the registry,
Mhm.
what would it be?
Um, I think one of the main things that if I can change, it would definitely have to be, first and foremost is the length of time. That's one thing, but I think there needs to be maybe some type of overhaul in the entire system to where they're not punishing people uh, with the mindset of Western philosophy. See, we get punished because we have a mindset that this person should not be with this person because of the age of consent. You understand what I'm saying? Now, it should just be common sense. You should understand that this is a child and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go too much deeper into that, but you should just be able to use common sense. So I do think there needs to be something where people that's harming the community and kids are on some type of alert system, but I don't think it should be as broad as it is, to kind of throw us all under the same umbrella. So that is something that has to be that I think needs to be changed almost immediately.
Well, thank you, Brother Rod. It was good talking to you.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man.
I hope one day, we see
Mhm.
some changes within the
Mhm.
criminal justice system, especially for the registry. But good luck
Absolutely.
to you in your
Thank,
future
thank you.
endeavors, and
Mhm.
we'll see you on another day.
Okay, take care, brother.